Hello. Hi, I'm Christina. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. Tonight I'd like to introduce you to two really amazing bands. They both have brutality and emotional resonance and just sick-ass players and just intensity, and not only that, really innovative ideas. You know, they're the children of extreme metal and hardcore, essentially. But what they've done in this space is really interesting. These guys shared a stage earlier this year, and I decided to, why not speak to everyone in the band and get a really holistic picture of how they think and how they work together and the story of their last two records. If you want to go and listen to something that is epic from beginning to end, that has like all this like cinema soundtrack level of like dynamics, and you want to like hear some sick ass drums and mad riffs and like interesting stories, sus Cult Leader's A Patient Man and Lowe's Vestigial. One Cult Leader basically deals with the real like torment and sorrow and darkness of the inner world and the human experience. And Lowe, like the singer from Lowe, Sam, actually goes in sort of other direction, which is like the darkness of what's around us, like religion and stupidity and just the way we all operate on autopilot. And yeah, so that's a really nice contrast. But yeah, I could go on for quite some time, but I say go out there and experience this music. And I hope that through this, maybe you can get a better perspective and an insight on who these bands really are. So yeah, so thanks for coming here. If you dig what you see and all of that sort of thing, hit subscribe. That really makes this one-woman show more possible. Thank you. Enjoy. Be excellent to each other. Hello, I'm Christina Rowatt. Welcome to The Void. We are here as part of an interesting new segment called Bands on Bands, with two fine guitarists from two excellent bands from across the globe. What have you been impressed by in each other's performance?
I'd never seen another guitarist with a similar setup to mine.
It's exactly the same. It's very strange.
What strikes you about Carl's playing in particular?
Just how particular he is at playing, because a lot of guitarists skip out on that. They're worried about how many notes they can doodle.
Well, I can't shred at all, so I have to make up for it with the other hand.
Do you think the act of performing is giving or receiving?
Like, both sides can affect the other. And I feel that that's more so with our side of music than others.
I think both sides fuel each other.
It's surreal, man. You get to create this art and something that moves you and it can resonate with other people and they want to experience it with you. We can't play to nobody. We can play to nobody for sure, but like we're just doing something because it means something to us, and it means just as much to have them at our shows as it is, I guess, for us to come to them.
Yeah, we've been given an opportunity through screaming aggressive anthems that we are able to see other parts of the world and be educated ourselves and have those experiences.
What struck you by Sam's quite unique vocal style?
Yeah, I mean his vocals are amazing, but like watching him perform is like he's very animated and it's like monstrous. Like there's a lot of claws and like sharp movement to what you do.
I think the immersion, the full-on drowning that Anthony does, I like the fact that he does become a silhouetted, hooded figure straight out of the blackness. I love that conviction in the anger and aggression and the emotion that's coming through.
Is that a conscious decision?
No. No. There's like an element of like, I don't know, like self-imposed misery to it.
But you did choose to go from being a bass player to being a singer, and you did put the thing forward.
We needed a vocalist, and I didn't want to play bass anymore. And we already have an extremely talented guitarist.
One day he came to us and was like, I'm thinking about singing, which, if you know Anthony, me and him are like the quiet guys in the band.
And another part of that is I really do enjoy making myself uncomfortable.
How he's transformed into being what he is now, it's very inspiring.
So this whole Two Ackleys thing, right? The goddess of misery. Is she the album cover? Because she's got all the weeping and the blood face and the...
No, but it's a reference to the album cover. And so just the weeping and the sorrow, like that is, to me, that's like the overarching idea, just the dealing, purging yourself of sorrow, and that's and of depression and of rage and anger, and that, in my opinion, that's what heavy music is for. I can't get on board with like heavy bands that like don't take it seriously. Like I have a sense of humor and I understand that what we do is inherently silly, but there's just an idea of like, look, man, I'm not in this to like party and get down. This is about like burning off the worst parts of myself and doing it through art with my friends, it's got us here, which I think is fucking awesome.
What rule says that art has to be pleasant is really the question.
Like, it seems like everyone's trying to live their life. Like, the ultimate goal is to be happy all the time. But, like, who's to say that life shouldn't have moments where you're uncomfortable or feel unhappy or whatever, and that's fine.
How can you know happiness without unhappiness?
We're not going to be happy all the time. That's not the human experience.
Having said all that, the happiest I am is when I'm listening to something so heavy and crushing.
Me too. Although I do have to say that on that Cult Leader album, the thing called The Joyful Place, it's like the darkest fucking song. I'm just like, what are you doing to me? What did you think of each other's performance?
I got to step it up. I would say some of your strengths are some of the things that I'm not going to say I struggle with, but that I don't do as well as I should.
Oh, no.
Now I'm embarrassed. At the first show, and Casey was sound checking, I was like, oh, he doesn't hit as hard as I thought he would. First song of the set, like first show was like, oh. I went out the back and started doing push-ups because...
Physical instrument.
Yeah.
You know?
Damn right it is.
Yeah. Everyone else can kind of just roll on and like...
I believe strongly that like if you're playing heavy music, you should, and you're a drummer especially, like this is an opportunity to do what seems intuitive and just like, can I say fucking go for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's YouTube.
Fucking go for it.
Have like a visceral reaction to something and hate it, which in our case a lot of times with the music I enjoy watching that happen. Like I like hearing someone's reaction to the first time and being like, oh Jesus, what is this? There's records that when I was a kid or being exposed to heavy music for the first time that like I totally rejected. Neurosis was too slow for me, or Meshuggah was too technical for me, like those kind of things. Yeah. But then like once I was able to like grow out of whatever ignorant stage I was in and actually experience Neurosis for what they were, they're the most fucking glorious band on the planet.
They really are. Yeah.
And like they are my favorite band without question. You know, like nothing is the same since figuring out how much I really love that band.
Things like black metal and grindcore and that I found too abrasive as a first listen. It was kind of like putting habaneros like on the tip of your tongue when you could have been eating an ice cream. Your palate eventually matures. And now years later, I do lots of stuff vocally at least that do sound from that world. And I've traveled to these places where this stuff originates from, and I love all the parts of it, and I delve into the history, and it's just something that gradually happened, a personal evolution.
There's the groove thing, but then there's stuff that is almost anti-groove, and then there's... How does that feel as a bass player?
Bass a lot of times is considered kind of a melodic extension of drums almost. So, but we also only have one guitarist, so I kind of have to be rhythm, but also be another guitar.
The tone that we kind of get is not a normal bass tone, you know, it's more like a guitar really as well. Yeah.
Why do bass players get so much shit?
Because we're gorgeous.
Buried in a mix where you don't necessarily hear it in like the front, but as soon as it's not there, it ruins everything.
I really like silence a lot. Power silence.
What is the craziest shit you've ever seen a strange visual that you experienced from traveling the world?
How many penises I've seen on stage?
We did a Converge tour in Europe that Caveller Talk was open for, and they came out all naked.
Naked men just end up on stage all the time.
The singer was at the front of the stage wearing an apron,
Walking around with a Japanese fighting dog.
and he had a barbecue and he was cooking sausages.
Norwegian sausages.
Nothing but naked dudes and beach balls on stage.
He looks like an old 1930s clown.
And he just went,
It was clear that the dog was getting agitated by the clown,
And there's just dicks everywhere.
and the dog has attached itself to his face.
and he'd like flip it over and release, put on the bass, and then it was like a half an hour of that.
I didn't know about that.
It was some cool weirdo shit.
And we'd watch every show side stage because it's Converge, and you're in Europe with them.
There's not a lot of dicks on stage while we're playing. They're on stage.
We would never go on stage naked.
Like, looking back on it and thinking about it, there's just been a lot of dicks on a lot of stages.
Just little things like that are like gems now. That at the time we're like, woo!
This is just what you live with. What was it like making your third piece of music with Kurt from Converge?
Each recording experience has been different.
We had the privilege of touring with them before we ever recorded with Kurt, so we became friends before any of that.
The first time, you couldn't imagine how nerve-wracking it was because you're performing in front of your favorite musician and you have to do it perfectly. But now at this point, he gets us, he gets our sound, we trust him implicitly.
Some of the things that we do, I don't think there's a better person you can work with. Yeah. I'll sometimes just rattle off something in 5/16 time that's just shouldn't be something you hear on first listen and just get it, and he does. So I'll do something and he will, hey, you know that part where you go blah, 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 and he'll do it with his mouth. What if you tried blah, blah, blah? And that's unique. That's unique feedback.
Once it was time for me to do vocals, it was literally me and him in an isolation booth in our underwear, sweating our asses off, with him this close to my face.
Did you make out?
No, I mean, we could have for sure.
Yep, that was accurate. And
you really did make out. It's fine. We're fine with it.
he's a good-looking man. It's
It was just him right here and looking at each other in the isolation booth, and where it should have only been me. But it was the way we had to do it, and I had to be able to see him and talk to him right then and there. And so it essentially we worked out all the melodies and all those parts together on the spot, working through those things. And he is a really good singer.
Me and Casey have been playing since we were 16. Just straight up. Yeah, and even pre-Gaza. We started playing in high school.
For the longest time, it was just tour. Get together 3 times a week. Everyone in the band in a room writing.
We can almost now predict what they're going to say about a riff and then fix it before they say anything.
You can't simulate, you can't replace those moments you have where someone else is playing and you're inspired by something they do, but they can't hear it themselves. Now things are different. So we didn't know if this was going to be the last thing that we did. Just treat every time not just every time a band comes through town as it could be the last time, but you don't know if you're going to get in your car and get in an accident.
It's getting dark here.
I'd be surprised if most bands aren't in a sort of a similar situation. You've got to be pretty unique to be I'm going to do this all in and just tour relentlessly for the rest of my life.
Well, and if we kept having the mentality of no, we're just going to tour, we're just people break, and then you lose the ability to do it long term.
Drummers are typically there to be the backbone. The way he approaches playing is much more in a way of a guitarist would approach his instrument. Casey plays in segments of riffs.
I will do some stuff that's more rhythm, and they will trail off and do something different.
So Mike and Sam will write a thing, and I call it the rhythmic palette. If you were to just remove the notes, it would be, you know, whatever the rhythm is, and then you use that as a template to write to the rhythm specifically. And because I'm not always an adherent to like backbeats, like something that's steady or whatever, and sometimes I am, and you want to, it just...
For me, the steady thing I pay attention to is our guitarist.
So I think it's just a different waveform of the same thing.
Well, I would say the same about us as well. I wanted to be a drummer before I was a guitarist when I was young, and my parents said, it's too expensive and too loud, we're not buying you a drum kit, so I became a guitarist.
When I was a kid, I didn't know you could learn drums. I don't know.
But I always think deep down I wanted to become a drummer. So even when I write, it's all very rhythmical, but because Griff's very good, we've even written songs where he'll just play random drum beats, like for 20 minutes, and just send me the file.
So the song Locust Christ off our last album, I just played and sent him what I played, and he just put guitars over the top, and that pretty much became the song that it is now.
New Frontiers. Are you guys writing music for the next thing? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we are.
Is Carl yeah.
Yep. So I'm
Carl is the beginning.
around filling up diaries. Carl's at home doing riffs. Adrian's there playing drums. We're doing all the film work. It's all coming together.
I think it's really important to paint the picture of the music with the visuals, and I think that's what it gets me really excited about anything that I'm into. Like the power of that, combining those two things really just elevates things to the next level.
Like a childhood friend, you're saying that all your lyrical content seems to always have sins, so of the biblical sort of nature and carnal nature, or to basically listing off everything that's in taxidermy and natural history museum.
What's the role and function of a blast beat?
I think we both play a similar kind of blast beat, but that's totally different to like technical death metal band style blast beat.
I want to be very clear in setting this up that I'm not actually like dogging on anything, but people can be super fast, and that's really impressive, and I wish I could do that and it was in my bag of tricks and I could fall back and I could just do technique and breathe through my nose and like do all that great stuff. But at the same time, if something is so fast that you can no longer play it with passion and conviction and fury, maybe for me, that's like sacrilege.
You grew up in a fairly religious town, right?
I didn't personally grow up Mormon. I grew up in like a little, Pentecostal, like fundamentalist Christian situation where like I went to a private Christian school and like all this stuff. So there's just weird amounts of like passive aggressive bullshit constantly. Like everybody's got a smile on their face and everybody is accepting on the surface.
The gold filling in a rotten tooth.
They'll put a knife in your back as soon as they possibly can, you know, and they all just like look at you and they're sorry for you because they know that you're going to hell or whatever version of hell that they believe in.
Shackles of guilt.
What did they think when you joined a metal band, your parents and stuff?
Well, in high school with hardcore, like my mom knew what kind of music I was into and everything, and just going like all out and all into it, that they just didn't get it. Like my mom didn't get punk or any of those things. But like oddly enough, she took a music history class and they taught her about the history of punk, and then they taught her about like the history of straight edge and all this stuff and like what it means to be DIY, what it means to be punk and like all this stuff. And she came home one day and she's like, I get it now. Yeah. And it was just like this like awakening, and then like from and from that moment on, like they have been extremely supportive.
When you kind of put that stuff aside, what do you believe in the most? Is there anything do you believe in something?
You believe in human power. So like the whole idea of like with all those faiths and all those things, it seems like they just groom you to not believe in yourself, so you have to depend on some imaginary bullshit. So like once you start pulling away from that and realizing that you are the one that's in charge of everything that happens in your life and how you react to everything that happens in your life, and it's just a matter of like trying to gather as much of your own power and your own strength to drive yourself forward and make the world the way you need it to be to survive. I just think everything in the world is essentially designed to keep you under control. So in all the structures, that's just what they're there for.
With the whole thing of do you believe in other things, I believe in myself as my own God of my own universe of my own making. Like, that's not saying that you completely up yourself. That's saying that you take responsibility for what you do. Yeah. And how you're going to wake up in the morning. You can either start in whinge culture where you wake up and go, oh, everything's shit. Or you can wake up and actually try and do something that's going to benefit you, someone next to you, and make you feel a bit better. And with little drops like that opens up a whole ocean. So you're able to make the world a better place by doing that. That's a completely unmetal thing to say, I guess, in the world of grimness and darkness, but I think that's the only power you really have.
That's DIY music, though. Yeah. That's DIY music. That's getting on the road and like spreading a message that's about like bringing other people up. Would you say your world of music is, like a decent class of people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the ones that
you've had some bad experiences.
Yeah, there's some shitty people out there, and they can be really close to you at some point, but the more you learn about someone, the more like you can choose to be like, oh, well, what we have going is good, so let's just like not worry about that. Or you can be like, fuck that.
Yeah. Which I'm really glad you did.
Yeah. I mean, well, there was no choice for us. Like, not a choice.
It's so important though. Like, it's such an important thing to see anyone do. I'm just glad you kept going for all of this time and made all this really amazing music. And this band is better because the soul of all the people who are in it are clearly better. Not to be, this is your personal shit, but I'm just glad that you told them to get fucked, because this is a serious thing, that this can't be tolerated. And I was talking to a couple of people about this, like who are in old hardcore bands, about bad shit happening with girls and stuff in that scene, and people not doing anything about it and going, oh, I didn't realize what not doing anything did. And it's let's just make it really light, but it is actually a really serious issue, and it's everyone's opportunity to be respectful and to take care of everyone. And even, there's a long way to go to have as many women on the stage as in the crowd.
This music world, especially like heavy music, it's not representative, and traditional rock life has existed as like an obvious hierarchy that creates people with God complexes and that just exploit people. And that if there's anything I want to get out of this besides like having cool experiences and connecting with people and calling my own shots about what it is that we write and like whatever else, as much as anything, I just want rock stardom to just fucking die. Just fucking die. It's just the worst. It's worst. Yeah. So like, why do we get involved in this when that's part of it? I don't know, because there are other things larger than just people's egos and using this as a platform to like be a dick to people, because it's been used as that for far too long. And I feel like we're reaching a point where we're chipping away at it, and once in a while a hunk comes off, and like one day I hope it just dies.